let us take a moment to take a quick glance at the history of video games. It has come so far as an industry and as a part of our lives. It is just insane to compare the development in narrations, graphics, and mechanics video games as a whole received over this course of the existence. Started with just lines and pixels, and now we're experiencing photorealistic graphics in games. Titles like Grand Theft Auto, Resident Evil, and Doom laid the foundation for the video game industry several decades ago, and more game genres, titles, and studios have come to existence due to that. Talking about the classic game titles, Fallout is something no one would not know about, as it has proven to be one of the greatest video game series in the ever-expanding universe of video games. Fallout is an action role-playing video game series first released in 1997. The series has been around for more than 2 decades now and is still one of the most talked about games. The idea for the first Fallout game came with a similar game that was released way back in 1988, Wasteland. Now, the first Fallout game came into existence is a pretty interesting story too. The first Wasteland game was developed by the Interplay and published by the Electronic Arts. Later on, the Interplay wanted to become a publisher on their own for the series, but had trouble getting legal rights to the Wasteland franchise. Instead, they decided to collect all positive aspects of the game and wrote a whole new game based on the same concept, and Fallout was born. Fallout brings a post-apocalyptic setting with the atom punk retrofuturistic vibes to emphasize the destruction and nuclear annihilation has brought upon the world. So, talking about the setting, the iconic 22nd and 23rd century wasteland the game brings it what makes the Fallout series stand out from the other similar games. The series currently has 4 main game titles and 6 other spin-offs, 10 in total. It really influenced the role-playing game genre to become what it is today, and one of the greatest game series to ever been created. It is also amazing how each game brings a specific time period and a specific story in the same universe. Since this video is about the future of the Fallout series, we first need to be familiar with the entire Fallout timeline and where the story and the universe are headed. So without wasting any more time, let's recap the timeline of the Fallout series and a lore real quick. The Fallout timeline and lore are more massive than you think and quite confusing too. Different titles bring different timelines going back and forth, but I'll try to go in the order of the titles and explain as smoothly as possible. Also, I'll try to keep as many spoilers away as I can. Fallout is set on the alternative reality of our own universe. It is inspired by the US culture, and the games are also set in the US as well. The games feature a lot of the accurate historical events that actually had importance with the US and the entire world. But everything is knitted around the reliance of nuclear power in the game's universe. While our world sees nuclear as a deadly weapon and tries to avoid it, the Fallout world embraced nuclear technology to be used in almost everything. This brings out the iconic funky retrofuturistic vibe of the series. It is all normal, just like our own world, and until the wars for the resources start. A worldwide conflict takes place in the mid-21st century over a global petroleum shortage. The main leading nations go into resource wars over the last of the remaining power resources like oil and the uranium from 2052 to 2077. This ultimately leads to nuclear warfare. The aftermath of these wars lasts for over a century, and human society has collapsed by then. There are only a small number of survivors left living in shelters called vaults, and the first title of the series starts there in the Fallout world of 2161. You will be playing as a resident of Vault who is on their mission to save their home by finding a new water chip. The rest of the game and the ending is for you to choose. However, Fallout 76 is the first game in the proper Fallout timeline, as it features the events of the 2102, where the player, a resident of the Vault 76, takes on his mission to recolonize the nuclear-destructed wasteland by reclaiming the lands from the mutated monsters. However, Fallout 76 is not the main title of the franchise, and it's just a spin-off. Fallout 2 brings events of 2241, where you play as a direct descendant of the Vault Dweller, also referred to be as the Chosen One, and you are tasked to find the Garden of Eden creation kit to start off the community once again in a wasteland affected by the series' drought. Then the next story comes in the third main title of the series, Fallout 3. Fallout 3 takes place in the year 2277, and the game was changing point in the series. The series had been without a main title for around 10 years, and Fallout 3 came out with a 3D graphics with the real-time combat and the environments, having a huge jump from its last title. The playable map was way larger, and it was basically a turning point in the entire series. You will be out looking for your father, who turns out to be a key scientist in a project called Project Purity, aimed at purifying all water in the wasteland. You will be fighting your way to make your dad's dream come true, or otherwise. Fallout 4 is one of the games in the series that brought a lot of the attention to the Fallout universe. It was loved by many and also hated as many. Fallout 4 starts by showcasing the day the bombs dropped, October 23, 2077. The main story of the game takes place in 2287. 10 years after the events of the Fallout 3. The game brings out the iconic retro-futuristic look this series is famous for featuring in 1940s, 1950s aesthetic and vibes throughout the art style. Players can side with one of the 4 factions in the game, features that they lead to several epilogues according to what path that they choose. The main 4 titles end there, but there are also spin-off games with other main storylines in the same universe that have importance to the lore, such as the Fallout New Vegas and 76. Now, Fallout New Vegas presents the year 2281 in the Fallout universe, and the incidents take place in the later version of the Las Vegas, New Vegas. You're trying to deliver an item called Platinum Chip, and you're on a journey across the Mojave wasteland to locate and confront Benny and get the Platinum Chip. Of course, you can decide the ending of the game, and I'll just leave it at that. Fallout series isn't at the best spot right now. The reason for this is the series' latest release, Fallout 76. It is one of the lowest rated games in the Fallout franchise and possibly one of the lowest rated AAA titles ever. It was extremely flawed on a technical level that it was really buggy to a point where the game wasn't enjoyable at all. Even the graphics of the game disappointed the players. Animations were bad and they were hardly a good thing about the game. This is why I always say that the delayed game is always better. This also put Bethesda in a tough spot among the community, especially when they messed up the special edition bag, if you remember that. Now, 76 being the latest title, there haven't been any new titles announced in the series for almost 2 years now. So what's lying in the future of the Bethesda and the Fallout series? Let's admit it, Bethesda is one of the best RPG developers in the industry right now. The Elder Scrolls series and the Fallout 3, New Vegas and 4 are good examples to prove that fact. They brought mainstream attention to the RPG genre throughout the games like the Skyrim and currently one of the most recognized games brands. Even though Fallout 76 was a huge flop, Bethesda is still a successful and relevant game developer and publisher in the industry. Taking a quick glance at the Bethesda as a studio, they have been going down the hill with all these choices that they have made. The minimization of the RPG elements is more recent Fallout games, microtransactions and other money-hungry services that they've shown that they lately care about the money more than the quality of their games. But after all, they're responsible for several Game of the Year title games such as the Fallout 3, even 4, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, and of course Skyrim. So currently official news about a new game only states that the Elder Scrolls 6 is in the pre-production and Starfield is under work as well. This simply means that we won't get a new Fallout game from Bethesda for a long time. But what does that stand in the future of the Fallout series? Will it be the main title or perhaps another spin-off? So we're to see the next game Fallout game anytime soon. I really hope it doesn't expand the existing universe by adding repetitive events and narratives like they did with the Fallout 3 and 4. A big problem most game devs don't realize is that they still have plenty of opportunities to create a very good games in existing and already loved universes of the franchise. But these days the priorities of the devs are just money, and so no wonder that they have messed up. The next Fallout could have been even better narrative featuring in the already existing timeline, but maybe in a different locations than the rest. Maybe showing that there are other regions than that keeps it on repeating, or maybe even featuring a new country like China or Alaska, which played major roles in the early years in the lore. Also, I really hope that they cut all the unnecessary cash mining features and deliver a proper story-driven single-player game for us fans to enjoy. If Bethesda decides to be arrogant company they are right now, they might be experiencing another Fallout 76-like flop, with tons of unwanted features and some more downgrades to the core quality of a Fallout game. Raven Star, thank you so much for the continued support on my Patreon. And because of this support, that this special video is dedicated to him, since he was the one that chose the specific topic all about the future of Fallout. Now, thank you all for watching this video. Please consider liking and subscribing, and lastly, of course, consider supporting me on my Patreon. The links are gonna be pinned down in the comment as well. Have a wonderful day, guys.